Bobby Clarke's career is as controversial as it is legendary, with his aggressive style of play, tough decisions as a manager, and the physical toll his body endured drawing attention throughout his career. Despite these controversies, Clarke is widely regarded as one of the greatest players in NHL history, with a career packed with impressive achievements. Before we jump in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up while you're at it. During the 1972 Summit Series, Clarke became part of one of the most talked about moments in hockey history. In a heated game against the Soviet Union, Clarke delivered a brutal two-handed slash to Soviet star Valery Kharlamov, breaking his ankle. This move had a huge impact on the series, as Kharlamov was one of the key players for the Soviets. The incident has sparked a lot of debate over the years. Many people believe Clarke's slash was deliberate and unsportsmanlike, seeing it as a move to take out one of the best players on the other team. It's something that's still discussed among hockey fans, with some defending Clarke as just playing tough, while others say it was a dirty move that crossed the line. Whatever the opinion, it's a moment that's stuck with hockey history, and Clarke's actions in that series are still a big part of his legacy. When Clarke was the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers during their legendary Broad Street Bullies era, he was right in the middle of a team that became famous for its tough, no-holds-barred style of hockey. The Flyers, under Clarke's leadership, were all about being physical, hitting hard, fighting when needed, and intimidating their opponents. This aggressive approach wasn't just for show. It helped them win a lot of games and even snag 2 Stanley Cups in the 1970s. The Flyers were feared, and for good reason. But while their tough guy reputation brought them success on the ice, it also made them the target of a lot of criticism. A lot of people felt that the Flyers were more focused on violence and pushing people around than on playing the game with skill and finesse. Some even argued that this kind of play was hurting the sport, overshadowing the exciting, fast-paced parts of hockey that fans love. For every person who admired the Flyers' grit and physicality, there were others who thought they took it too far, turning the game into something more about fights than the actual sport. Despite all the mixed opinions, there's no denying that Clarke and the Broad Street Bullies left an unforgettable mark on hockey. They might not have been everyone's cup of tea, but they certainly made their presence felt, and their style of play is still talked about today, whether people loved it or hated it. In 2022, Clarke made some pretty bold comments about Ron Hextall, a former Flyers goaltender and general manager. Clarke publicly accused Hextall of alienating people within the organization and playing a part in the team's struggles. Those words definitely stirred the pot, sparking a lot of debates among fans and the media. It wasn't just a casual remark, it highlighted some serious tension within the Flyers organization. Fans and analysts alike started to pick sides, talking about whether Clarke was justified in speaking out or if he was just adding fuel to the fire. It's no secret that the Flyers have had their share of ups and downs over the years, and these comments only seem to underscore the bigger picture of internal conflicts and frustration with the team's direction. It brought a lot of attention to the ongoing struggles of the organization, and people were left wondering if the issues ran deeper than just on-ice performance. The whole situation only added to the drama surrounding the Flyers at the time, making it clear that not everyone in the organization was on the same page. Clarke's playing style on the ice was all about toughness, relentless checking, borderline hits, and he wasn't afraid to drop the gloves and fight when needed. This approach definitely got people talking, and not always in a good way. For fans who loved his style, Clarke was the ultimate competitor, someone who gave it his all every single game. His grit and determination made him a standout player, someone who never backed down. But for others, that same aggressive style made him look like a dirty player who often crossed the line. They felt that Clarke's hits weren't just hard, but unnecessary and at times overly physical. His willingness to engage in fights, even when it wasn't always called for, added to that reputation. People who didn't like him saw it as more than just tough hockey. It was a game of intimidation. So while Clarke was admired by many for his heart and never-quit attitude, there were just as many who thought he took things a bit too far. It was a style that sparked plenty of debate and still gets discussed when talking about his legacy. Clarke's journey to the NHL started in the small northern town of Flin Flon, Manitoba, where he was born. He started playing organized hockey when he was just 8 years old, but things took an unexpected turn when he was around 12 or 13. That's when he found out he had type 1 diabetes, which could have derailed his dreams of playing at the highest level. Despite this challenge, Clarke didn't let it hold him back. He thrived as a player for the Flin Flon Bombers, leading the league in scoring in his last 3 years of junior hockey. However, the fact that he had diabetes caused concerns for NHL teams. They weren't sure if he'd ever be able to play in the league because of his condition. But then, Bombers coach Pat Ginnell stepped in. After the 1967-68 season, he took Clarke to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, where doctors gave Clarke the green light to play professionally, as long as he managed his diabetes properly. Even with this reassurance, Clarke was still picked in the second round of the 1969 NHL draft, 17th overall by the Philadelphia Flyers. His talent was so obvious that right after the Flyers picked him, both the Detroit Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens tried to trade for him, each offering pretty tempting deals. But the Flyers weren't interested. They made it clear Clarke was off limits. It was the start of what would become a legendary career with Philadelphia. Clarke's NHL journey was a memorable one, and it all started when he made his debut for the Philadelphia Flyers on October 11, 1969, wearing number 16. Just a couple of weeks later, he picked up his first point, an assist on a goal by Lou Morrison against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not long after, Clarke scored his first goal, a beauty against Ed Jacquemin of the New York Rangers. It didn't take long for him to prove himself, finishing his rookie season with 46 points, including 15 goals and 31 assists, earning a spot in the NHL All-Star Game and winning NHL Rookie of the Year honors from the Sporting News. He finished fourth in voting for the Calder Memorial Trophy, which is given to the league's best rookie. In his second season, 1970-71, Clarke led the Flyers in scoring with 27 goals and 36 assists. However, the next year, the 1971-72 season, didn't start well for Clarke. He had a tooth abscess that left him 20 pounds underweight, and he struggled early on, posting just 5 goals and 11 assists in 31 games. But Clarke was known for his resilience, and he bounced back in a big way, finishing the season with 35 goals and 46 assists, earning a spot in the Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy for perseverance and dedication. His career took another huge step when, at just 23, he was named the Flyers captain, making him the youngest captain in NHL history at the time. He scored one of the biggest goals of his career in overtime of Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals against the Boston Bruins, helping the Flyers even the series. The Flyers eventually won their first ever Stanley Cup, defeating the Bruins in 6 games. Clarke's gritty leadership helped neutralize some of the Bruins' best players, including Bobby Orr. The next season, 1974-75, Clarke was even better, finishing with 116 points, including a career-high 89 assists. He led the Flyers to another Stanley Cup Finals, where they defeated the Buffalo Sabres in 6 games, and Clarke earned his second Hart Trophy as the league's MVP. He was named to the NHL First All-Star Team, and the Flyers were firmly established as one of the best teams in the league. In 1975-76, Clarke had a stellar season, playing with Reggie Leach and Bill Barber on the LCB line, setting a record for most goals by a line. Clarke also had a career-high 119 points and led the league with a +83 rating. Though the Flyers lost in the finals, Clarke was named MVP again. Despite some injuries and challenges, including managing diabetes, Clarke remained a key player. He retired in 1984 to become the Flyers GM, leaving a huge impact both with the Flyers and Team Canada, including winning gold at the 1976 Canada Cup. His leadership and skill made him one of the best. On Bobby Clarke Night in 1984, the Flyers retired his National 16 jersey and created the Bobby Clarke Trophy, awarded to the team's MVP. Clarke was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1987 and honored with multiple Hall of Fame inductions, including in Philadelphia and Canada. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an update.